It is that time again. The World Doom League quarterfinals are upon us once again in summer 2020. We are looking at a matchup between the Superchargers and the Boomstick Warriors. I am Xenaero, and I'm joined today by my co-host, Jamie. How are you doing?
Greetings. I am well. How are you, Zen?
Doing fantastic. Now, there's a bit of a change for anyone who watched our previous broadcast on the splash screen. We're listing the win, losses, and ties of the regular season to get a bit of a picture of how the playoffs are shaping up between these two teams. Now, every team going forward who is on blue has home field advantage in this best of 5, which means that we'll be seeing their map. In this case, Boomstick Warriors map 09, we'll see them play that in rounds 1 and 2. The Superchargers will follow with their maps in rounds 3 and 4. It'll go to round 5 for map 9, and then it will alternate from that point on in the event that we do not have a victor in the best of 5. Jamie, do you have anything to say on the two teams we're going to be watching in a few minutes?
Yeah, so similar to how we discussed the matchups earlier, we have another matchup that is actually a rematch. Now, this one isn't from week 5. This is actually a week 2 rematch for map 22, which was Gargantuan. The Boomstick Warriors actually won that kind of going away. They won 5-3, 5-0. J-War had an incredible game with 4 caps plus 78 frags. So he was the second most in caps and second most in frags. The cap percentage was a big difference in that matchup, despite the fact that the frags weren't really that substantially far apart. The Boomstick Warriors maintained a 19% cap rate, while Suck only had a 15%. The interesting note was that Prime was benched in week 2. Now I don't know if that was a mistake. I think I understood it was, but it leads me to my next point, in that both of these teams have kind of shuffled their lineups around a few times. And what I mean is, I don't mean that they've played with their fourths a bunch. It's that on a given week, they seem to do different things. One week, for example, on the Superchargers, Ralph might defend. Another week, Blair. And another week, Prime. Same thing with the Boomstick Warriors. You see that with Devastation defending sometimes. Sometimes Azrael defends. I haven't seen J-Warrior defend, but he's been kind of all over the place. When you have a team like that rotates a lot in positions throughout a season, it's kind of hard to keep continuity together, because you're not able to get into a rhythm in a certain style of play. Meaning, if you've been defending all season, you're probably in a decent frag rhythm. If you've been running all season, you're probably going to be a little bit better on the running end with controlling movement and whatnot. But these things are marginal at best. Nevertheless, because of that, we still need to look at continuity and chemistry as being a big key for both of these teams. Because since we've seen a lot of that shuffling around, it's hard for teams to get used to playing with each other for that reason. Looking at these teams, they're both kind of in the middle of the pack frag-wise, but the Boomstick Warriors have been one of the best defensive teams in the league, whereas the Superchargers have been one of the worst. They've been up and down. They've had games where they've looked good. But both of them are coming into this playoff matchup with some pretty good momentum. In week 5, the Boomstick Warriors defeated the Demon Spheres in 2. Kind of a crazy round 1. Then they took control of round 2, winning 5-0. Wasn't a whole lot to say there. They played well, they won. In week 5 for the Superchargers, however, they were playing with their lives at stake. Their playoff lives were on the line in this game. And it was a wild game against the BQB, the Oblast Blom team. And we actually saw Blair get 2 caps as time was expiring in both of those games to give the Superchargers a 2-0 win and land them the 7th seed in the playoffs, while the Boomstick Warriors were able to lock up the number 2 seed. So looking at these teams, I think, as I said, the interesting thing is going to be what Superchargers team are we going to get? Are we going to get the Superchargers that got ran over by the Boomstick Warriors in week 2? Or are we going to get the Superchargers that we saw last week that were really in a tight fight for your life type of scenario? They came up big and responded. I think both of these teams are really contrasting in play styles. The Boomstick Warriors remind me of a team that almost plays like they rehearse. It's like a performance for them. They practice a lot and they play in such a way that it almost looks like it's rehearsed. That's going to favor them, I think, for a map like Compulsive Simplicity, which is map 9 in the pack, which is their home field advantage map. It's grindy, it's slow, it's steady, and because they tend to play this really classical but not outdated style, and they're very guided and consistent in their practice approaches, I think the one thing with them is they might be a little intolerant to disruption to those rhythms, and I'm not so sure they're going to have the capacity to kind of play on the fly. Conversely, that is the opposite to them in the Superchargers with Ralph and crew. Their map is going to be something average, which is a newer map made by Ralph himself. It's map 3, which is just wide open.
And that is the map that we're looking at on the stream as well. For anyone who's not aware, we have a mix where we cycle between the two maps. And now, as we're talking about the home fields, we're showing them up on the screen as well. And we'll do a flyby before we get into the games as well, for those who are not too familiar with these kind of unconventional home fields. But yeah, go ahead, Hatred. Sorry about that.
Yeah, no, it's okay. So I don't really know what to expect from the map. I've never seen it played competitively. It's really big. I think it's going to be a very crazy style of map. I'm not so sure any team is favored in it, but I think it probably is more lenient to the Supercharger style of play, which is more aggressive, in your face, kind of rotating in and out. And as I mentioned earlier with regards to the Boomstick Warriors, they're a team that seems to be very based on how they practice. They don't deviate from that much. They stick to the script, if that makes sense. Can they get that kind of play style in place in this map? I don't know. I really don't, and I'm very curious to see that. I think that the Superchargers can play with them on Compulsive Simplicity, but I don't know what to expect in map 3. It's very difficult to predict. I'm excited for it. I think these contrasting styles are going to make for some incredible matchups across the board, from player to player to team, obviously. So I'm pretty excited for it. I think we're going to have a good one here. And I don't know that I favor one team outright. I know in week 2, the Superchargers got the break speed off of them by the Boomstick Warriors, but I think they've righted the ship a bit. In week 5, they had Prime on defense, and he was pretty good that game. And I think Prime has been, if you've watched him progressively throughout the season, he's played better and better. He's one of those guys that was gone for a while, and you're starting to see him reintegrate himself into the game. I think he'll be the key for the Superchargers. I think if you see him have a good day on the frag end, you'll feel good about yourselves if you're the Superchargers. Vice versa, when we're looking at the Boomstick Warriors, what is Azrael going to do? Because he's kind of the unknown here. I think he's newer to the league, right? I don't think he's played in any. Has he played in prior seasons?
He has not played in any prior seasons. He is a Xenaero-based player who is making his first kind of a competitive stop over in Odomex, and he has been on the radar since week 1, where he had a breakout performance as a rookie. Yeah, and a lot of eyes have been on Azrael as he made his debut in Odomex and in the World Doom League.
Yeah, and I think he's going to be the key for them. I think Dev, long time player, needs no introduction there. J Warrior, another guy, really good player. He's another MVP candidate to look out for this season. But will this moment be too big for Azrael? And that's going to kind of be the question. I think having Dev on his team is going to be a plus, because Dev is going to be kind of that calming, hey, this is our approach. Let's do this. Very systematic, even though Dev is all over the place if you play with him. But I think that leadership is going to help. I'm very curious to see, and I'm excited for this matchup.
Now we have a couple unconventional maps, and I say that because map 9 is not no one. That's the map we're looking at right now for everyone at home watching. That map is not a typical map selected for playoff contention. Pretty unfamiliar map for a lot of players. Map 3 even less so. Both teams practicing map 3 primarily throughout the day. As we get closer to game time, what is your big takeaway of the map that we'll see in rounds 1 and 2?
For map 9. So this map is actually a pretty popular map on Xandronum. It gets a lot of play there. It's a very grindy map. I do think that it caters more to the Boomstick Warriors playstyle. I don't expect to see any wild or unorthodox strategy. I think it's just going to be both of them. Throw all your shit in mid and see if it sticks. The team that is more successful in getting control of mid in this match usually is going to win. I do think this is the type of map that Ralph can have a kind of breakout performance in that run and gun style, but he's going to need support from Blair and Prime in order to excel in doing that. But I would still slightly favor the Boomstick Warriors here.
So, with that in mind, for those who haven't really known about our playoff system or were not able to catch the last broadcast, the quarterfinals. Well, let's talk about the regular season real quick. The regular season is a best of 3, and that can end in a tie. Now, when you get into the playoffs and the quarterfinals, it goes to a best of 9 format. The home team, which is always going to be the blue team, in this case the Boomstick Warriors, they will have their home field, in this case map 9, played in the first 2 rounds. The next 2 rounds are going to be going towards the Superchargers, and then the final round of the best of 5 will be the home field of the higher seed team. So you're going to see map 9, map 9, map 3, map 3, map 9. Now, if it hasn't been closed out by that point, then if we're looking at a series tie, if neither team has secured a victory in a best of 5 format, then we'll be going to round 6, which will be map 3, and it'll alternate maps from that point on. And yeah, I might have said best of 9 earlier. No, it is a best of 5. So we haven't seen circumstances dictate us going into overtime, but it is a possibility if we're looking at a tie game, a tie series at that point, at the end of the 5th round.
Yeah. Wouldn't be surprised to see it, though. I think we were pretty close to our game earlier. I mean, the game that we had done earlier, every game was decided by 1 flag. So, when you get to this point in the season where you're talking about the top teams playing against one another, that possibility becomes much more real because you're not going to see any stomp, or typically they're not common. I hope that's not what we see today. I don't anticipate it, but I think playoff game in map 3, if it were to tie up map 1 through 5, and then you go into round 6 in map 3, do or die is kind of crazy.
And before we begin, we'll go over map 9 in sort of in the same kind of floaty style we've been doing every introduction of the map. Now, we'll be seeing this map for the first 2 rounds, and this is the Boomstick Warriors home field. So to summarize, we got a pretty open-ended flag room. There is a lift in the back of the base that lowers into kind of this very protected corridor, lots of hard cover, and right out into the midfield. Midfield has a lot of stone pillars, but is surprisingly open, and there's a lot of angles of attack for a defender to sit anywhere, really, and wait for a flag carrier to come across. At the entrance to each base, you would kind of have your main entrance, your side entrance that leads to that back lift we just talked about, and up here you have a teleporter, a window into the base, and this teleporter leads you directly behind the flag on the raised platform, some stim pads over here, and you can drop down and grab the flag, or play for contention and try to gain purchase into the base. And additionally, we just saw a player take an outer running route This is a two-way street. You can get in and out of the base through this little corner here. And that's about it. I mean, the map is very open-ended. There's a lot of opportunity for runners to juke and burn their opponents. But there's still a lot of key focal points for a defender to control. So eyes will be on the Boomstick Warriors to secure their home field and gain an early advantage.
Yeah. So it's looking like they're all filing in here. So it's getting to be that time. We got enough servers. Yeah. Looks like they're doing demos now. So we should be playing and starting here any second now.
And yeah, they're reconnecting and filing back in. We would go over map 3 because it kind of is a strange map to go right into, but we'll cover that as we get into rounds 3 and 4, if there is a round 4. Now, it's very possible that one team could win 3 rounds by a landslide, and that's it. That could be it for the series. But
yeah, it is.
You never know.
Like I said earlier, I don't anticipate it. I think these are going to be much closer games in their week 2 matchup. Beginning of the season, especially with the WDL being how it is now, where you don't get a long preseason, you pretty much draft your team and you get into it right away. I think the Superchargers were kind of figuring out who does what and mending things together. I think Prime was getting reintegrated into the game. Prime is a guy that's been to a couple of Master Bowls in the IDL. He's been a captain in his own right, very successful player. I don't think you have to worry about him. The guy will step up in these type of games. So I think they're a lot different now than what they were at the beginning of the season. So I don't anticipate a one-sided affair this time around.
I would agree. I mean, we're looking at 2 highly technical teams on 2 maps that are going to require finesse from everyone involved. I mean, and we got a call vote on the screen. We'll be getting into the first round of this best of 5 in the quarterfinals in the World Doom League Summer 2020 season. The Superchargers versus the Boomstick Warriors. Vote is passed, and we're getting right into it, watching Team Captain Ralphus make a run into the Boomstick Warriors base, grabbing the first touch, and he's out with grabbing that med kit. Needs that mid cover. A little bit of a hitch there, but no big deal. Mutual return.
Yeah, so right away, the first question that we had is who's going to be doing what. It looks like Ralph is going to be the runner for this map. So again, that continuity thing.
And we're looking over at J-Warrior, who has the flag going out to mid with 40 health. Not a whole lot to work with being chased. No medkit support there. Flag is dropped in the base, but quickly returned. That could have been a bad situation if it got chained.
Yeah, so that's the matchup today, is J-Warrior versus Ralph. Looks like Azrael is going to be on the D, and Dev is playing mid, so you've got the battle of Dev and Blair in the mid, and Prime is on D.
Ralph out to mid, but using that hard cover, but he just got swarmed by a bunch of enemy players. No
I'm
luck
mistaken.
there.
Blair is defending. It looks like Blair is defending, or they're playing sides and chasing. I'm not sure yet. And what I mean by that is there's 2 sides, there's 2 entrances to the base, so both defenders pick one side and chase on their respective side.
Ralph is out to mid with the flag with a full stack of 100 health, but that corner we talked about proved pivotal for the Boomstick Warriors to return with a quick shot on the runner. Lots of camping out at mid, lots of opportunity for defenders to set up and post up at mid. Try to return the flag out that way rather than fighting in the base proper.
Yeah. So Blair's the true D, and Prime is just chasing on as mid a lot to help, but we've got one out in mid now. Almost. Almost.
It was a quick return. They're pretty quick to try to head him off at mid. They know that running route is, it is their home field. They're aware of how quick it takes to get out to mid through that side passageway.
Yeah, but we're already seeing the Superchargers with a 15 frag lead. Kind of concerning.
Didn't even hit the ground before it got returned.
Yeah, they're collapsing pretty quickly. The Chargers are committing to defense in this round.
J-Warrior, no luck there. Nothing substantial other than a 1 run that made it all the way to the base, but that was returned. Other than that, both teams playing pretty conservatively, feeling each other out in the round 1 matchup that we have here right now.
Yeah, and you hit the nail on the head. Very, very slow start for both teams. That's not untypical for a playoff game. Ralph into the mid. They're getting them there. The Chargers are getting them there. I'm worried for the Boomstick Warriors here. Ralph is getting these flags out to mid pretty regularly. Sooner or later, they're going to start breaking these.
That's the Ralph classic. Able to get flags out inch by inch every single run, a little bit further down range. Ralph with another touch. That time, not so much. They're keeping an eye on their entrance. They know that he doesn't try too many tricky paths. For Ralph, it's often a game of touches. Touches, touches, touches. Ralph waiting for the all clear, or trying to fake out a defender with that lift noise. Sound is very important in Doom, and he's out. But that flag got dropped. Picked back up on a close spawn. Excellent work from the Superchargers to go up 1-0 in round 1.
We've got the flag going here, but that's exactly what I talked about. Ralph is getting them out there, and he waited for Prime to set up. Prime was there. They got through. Had a little bit of a drop off in D, and didn't communicate that a guy was in, but they were able to clean it up. Again, this is a really disturbing trend right now if you're the Boomstick Warriors, because they are getting trounced in frags right now.
And we're watching Blair defend very handily from the inner flag chamber, for lack of a better term. He gets dropped, which means J Warrior is out with the flag, out to mid. Teammate ran by with no cover, but which could cost him severely. Ralphus with another capture. 2-0.
Clean. Yeah, I think... I'm not sure why the discrepancy in frags is so great already, but I think that the Warriors got to make a change. I don't know if it's maybe have Azrael play more up, but this sitting back on D isn't working for them. You're letting Ralph get pretty much whatever he wants at this point. I think for them it might be better to disrupt and meet Ralph at mid and not allow him to get in so deep to get pressure.
With Dev unable to get out to mid, Ralph blocked by his own teammate, but it's all but assured as he drops the person waiting for him for a 3-0. 5 minutes into round 1.
Yeah. They got to do something to help Azrael. He's getting burned really bad right now. And I don't, like I said, I don't know if it's a position change or just him moving up more so that they don't allow Ralphus to get so deep with practically taking no damage.
Ralph is a veteran runner, and Azrael is doing what he can with 20 frags to his name, but Ralph is burning him repeatedly, as you said. Blair's doing a much better job in comparison. Azrael it might be inexperienced talking, we don't know yet. But Dev trying to get out with a flag, just not enough firepower behind him. Blair keeping the flag home. Ralph is dropped right outside the flag podium.
And Zen, you're absolutely right. This could be nerves. This could be just, okay, get it out of your system. But look, it's 3-0, and I know that looks bad, but there's still a lot of time to come back. So there's no need, not to panic, but now you're taking this like, okay, we need to get something now. Even if you don't win, just for the sake of building your morale for next round.
Oh, for sure, and next round will be the same map. So it is by no means an instant loss of advantage. A round 1 loss has hurt the team before this, Ties OnlyFans. But it is never a death sentence in a best of 5 format.
No, and you're exactly right. TOF overcame it today. They lost round 1. So it doesn't mean you're going to lose. But you still want to set the tone by winning that first game, especially on your home field. I don't know if we want to see, if you're home field guys, I don't know if you like the stat of home fields are 0-1 on opening map, or 0-2 if this score persists.
We're coming up on the 3-minute mark. Superchargers are up 3-0. It is round 1. Prime and Blair locking down the base as Ralph tries to burn Azrael repeatedly and does so. 90 health to his name, 70 doubling back. Dev across mid, but he's being hounded. Dev is safely in his base. Ralph on the teleporter, playing that little teleporter trick like, hey, if I hide in here he can't see me, and it works to some extent. Ralph looking for a way out. Dev evading as many charges as he possibly can. Carrier versus carrier. It doesn't work out well for the Boomstick Warriors as the flag is returned for the Chargers.
No, that one hurts because that was very close to being a score.
That is You know, it happens sometimes, but that's encouraging if you're the Warriors, because that means they're getting the flag out occasionally, at least sometimes. And that is cause for the Chargers to respect you.
Yeah, so following this, you're really seeing the Superchargers play more of a 2D setup, but Prime is playing out in mid. And it's working. J Warrior and Dev are not getting a lot of pressure. I mean, they're getting touches, but they're not making much out of it. So I think going into next round, if you're the Warriors, you got to think about switching to a 2D to protect Azrael.
That was excellent cover from the team. Oh, Dev dropped it in the base. It's picked back up by Azrael. Choo comes the train for the Boomstick Warriors. One flag on the board. 3-1. Blair with a cap back. Maybe? Nope, not so much. It's a mutual return. Ralph is with the flag, saying, I'm going to ignore everything that's happening and going to run the flag myself.
Oh, he almost got out.
That is not. Excellent shot from Ralph. And Prime tried to pick it up, but it just didn't happen. Ralph with another touch, showing that the suck motto is touches.
Yeah, and they're not handling it well. And I think, look, if you're the Boomstick Warriors, your thing needs to be, we didn't generate a lot of offense going 2-0, so maybe it's time to change it up. Ralph's still with the flag, getting whatever he wants.
Playing with the teleporter, driving the clock down. Ralph is a captain that is very aware of the clock and the role it plays in pressure.
Yeah, it looks like Ralph is kind of content to just slow him down. He's still going for flags. He hasn't gone all D yet, but...
Yeah, you have to keep the enemy team from going all offense, just hounding your base. Spawns in this map, while you do have super shotgun spawns, they are spread farther apart, which makes it a little bit, tiny bit easier to cover for your runner.
Yeah. So, going into this next round, the Boomstick Warriors have to make some sort of change. They don't have to necessarily go 2D, but their mid needs to do something to help out Azrael, because he's getting burned by Ralph. Even though they held them to time with this victory for the Superchargers, Ralph got the flag and just held on to it and did whatever he wanted.
And that's true. I mean, really, the Chargers had a stonewall defense, and TBW had no answer for it. Ralph was able to do touches endlessly.
No, the frags got it. They got to step it up on the fragging end too.
And Ralph kind of hogged a lot of our view time last round, and we're going to be watching him again because those touches were pivotal in round one. Now they're not playing on their own home field; they're playing on TBW's home field. So we're getting into round two. Watching Ralph
but the defense is still there.
And J Warrior is out with the flag himself. Misses the jump. Waits for anyone pursuing him. And just wasn't able to get to that medkit in time. Prime trapped at the teleporter and quickly returned, but Ralph with another touch, already waiting on the podium. 15 health, not a whole lot to work with. What are his options? Azrael looking to get out to mid, but he's staring down two enemies. How is he going to escape this base?
So a key point with that, so there wasn't any real chance that Ralph was going to score there. But the fact that he held on the flag for so long and didn't give up a quick return meant that the offense for the Boomstick Warriors on the other end suffered because J Warrior had to stop and at least make sure that Ralph didn't get out clean. So it's having an effect on their defense too. Ralph's pressure is making it harder for the Boomstick Warriors offense to maintain because they have to constantly drop back to help on defense. And if you're at that point, you may as well commit another defender there and then allow your defenders to get control of Ralph and then push up. Otherwise, you're going to keep seeing the same thing. Ralph's getting these one-on-one matchups, and he continues to win them pretty easily.
J Warrior tried to dash behind the teleporter. Pursuer doesn't work out. The shot does not connect. Ralph looking to get out to mid. Knew that he could burn one, now two defenders. All he needs is that flag returned. They missed the jump. Now time is ticking for that capture, but it works. The cover, they were able to turn away from the flag carrier up top and defend their own carrier. Chargers go up 1-0. A great example of teamwork from the Chargers in clearing their own flag room.
And this is my concern about the Boomstick Warriors. They don't look like a team that can just make adjustments on the fly. They look like they're very set in their roles. And you're seeing that intolerance of disruption to their chemistry kind of rear its ugly head right now. They're kind of shell-shocked, and they don't know what to really do in this moment. But 7.5 minutes, 1 flag down, not the end of the world. But if you're going to make a change, if you're going to do something to change the outcome, you need to do it now. The time is now, because you don't want to go down 0-2.
That's absolutely right. We're watching Team Captain Devastation on the Boomstick Warriors. He seems to be taking kind of an offensive route for the map, which I believe is in tandem with J-Warrior. They're running kind of like a 2-0 setup, leaving Azrael to his own devices while they would play for a return in the midfield if need be.
They're getting punished for it, though.
Yeah, they are getting punished for it, unfortunately. Now, J-Warrior out to mid. He's clearing away with 28 health. Now, excellent return from Azrael to secure that capture 1-1 in round 2.
So that's the good thing. They're starting to kind of get close in frags again. So as we just said that they're getting punished for it, they turned around and they executed. Let's see if they can continue to do that and if they're going to continue to have faith in Azrael. Because that's the good thing. So far, they're not giving up on him. They're saying, look, you got us here. We're riding with you. So let's see if they can continue to not only display that faith in him, but have results that are to their liking.
And it is 6 minutes left in round 2. Anyone's game as we continue playing on the Boomstick Warriors home field. Ralph is with a touch of his... He's got 15 health, which means he's still a threat, but he doesn't have a whole lot of health to work with. But even a grazing blow will bring down a runner at 15 health. Devastation barely crossing mid with 20, now 0. Ralph also low in the base, but playing back, forcing them to return the flag.
Yeah. And Azrael's right on that flag, man.
Ralph and Dev, team captains looking to drive flags home, but it is a mutual return.
Yeah, neither of those flags ever had a chance.
Yeah. But it is sometimes about how you force them to return the flag that can really set up a return capture.
Yeah. I like what Azrael's doing now. He's playing outside in mid. He's chasing Ralph. So even if he dies here, he's taken a lot of he's put a lot of damage on Ralph. It's going to make it a lot harder for Ralph to burn him because he's going to be lower.
Now Dev has a little bit of support, but just swarmed by chargers out at mid.
Yeah. Another thing about playing defense in the mid is that it also gives you the ability to know where the runner is at, so that you're not just guessing and waiting to outreact every time. You're in a position where you constantly know.
And on maps with a lot of hard cover like this one, intel is at a premium. It's not it's open-ended in the bases, but the middle blocks a lot of line of sight. Ralph, 25 health, out to doing a little bit of teleport shenanigans, grabbing those stimcats, bringing his health back up as his team is at mid to cover him. What an excellent run. They didn't know where he was. They got confused by the teleporter sounds and maybe a lack of calls. 2-1 for the Superchargers.
Yeah, great run, great setup by the Chargers. Thing of beauty to watch. Four minutes now.
Oh, yeah. Go ahead.
No, it's just 4 minutes, so they don't have to panic. But, you know, if you're the Warriors, you want to get a score here, too.
That's right, Ralph. Favoring that upper platform, using the teleporter trick, try to draw them away from the mid entrance where he can make a safe run. And it's worked multiple times now we've seen on the screen. Keeping eyes on Dev. All eyes on Devastation as he tries to avoid Blair, but Blair says, no, that's my flag, and I want it now. Ralph unable to make that able to make that capture, but Blair with a pickup. Does he know he has the flag?
Azrael almost made a play there.
And J-Warrior with a full stack of health in the base, just playing keep away, allowing his team a little bit of room to do what has to be done. Ralph playing the teleporter, telefragged and returned. And Prime with a pickup and a return for his own team, bringing a mutual return to the board.
Yeah, very well done there by Prime. Both teams solid. In a flag standoff, both of the teams are well disciplined. Didn't panic. Neutral return.
And that telefrag is sometimes what happens when you play, you know. Just gotta be careful with those teleporters.
A little bit of Dune. I think being telefragged would hurt, right?
I don't think you'd feel it. You
It'd just be
turn
over.
into a big pile of red mist. I think it.
And whatever clothes you're wearing.
Ralph grabbing a med kit, trying to get out to mid. But it doesn't work out well for him. Dev being chased across mid. Mid is kind of like a slaughtering field for a lot of teams. Teams players are playing on the sides rather than the direct middle. Kind of choosing to take an intercept route rather than standing out in the open and saying, "Come at me."
Yeah.
And Kepler, I am joined by Jamie, also known as HateDaddy, one of the players of the Demon Slayers earlier in the season.
Hello. Might have a score here.
We might have a score, Ralph, in the base, saying, "Please return it." Oh, it's dropped right up top. We got a pickup capture from K-Blair. Excellent work.
And that'll probably do it for this round. You know, and I think I've watched Azrael more this round, and he's making right decisions where he wants to be more aggressive in middle. The problem is he doesn't exactly know where to position in order to stop Ralph from getting whatever he wants. He's playing way too far off of Ralph, and Ralph is basically just grabbing the flag and running away from him.
And that may be a learning experience for rookie Azrael. As we get under the minute mark, it doesn't look very probable that TBW is going to score 2 frags, but we've seen crazier things. Ralph with a touch, burning the clock down as much as he can, gets a frag on the defender and just sits tight, knowing that they have to sit back and wait for him, because otherwise, someone of Ralph's caliber will burn everybody.
Yeah, the frag distance, the frag difference is still pretty eye-popping. 149 to 123.
An astounding 64 frags from Prime.
Yeah.
Shots are just connecting for that man. Now there's a fight going on in the blue base. If they can get a flag down, at least it won't hurt so bad if they go down by 1 flag, but it doesn't happen. A return for the Chargers, and are we going to see a last-second score? Nope, we will not. It goes to 3-1 for the Superchargers.
2 or die now. They're in trouble.
I mean, we're looking at match point for the Superchargers as we get into map 3. A pretty new map. We weren't able to do a flyby of it, so we'll try to kind of cover it as we... It's very open.
Yeah.
It's very open. It's extraordinarily open and very gray map. J-Warrior with the first touch. Going point to point, the base is... It's a mess of a map. And he wasn't able to score it.
I think you're going to see a lot of that in this map. You know,
Player playing in the corner. The stairs, the ramps. It's all over the place in this map.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous.
Not one that's not a whole lot of insight that you could give here. You shoot the guy, you get the flag, and you hope it's returned.
The
rocket jump. Oh, it almost worked.
That rocket jump almost worked. It was blocked by that that like arch band way up top ceiling. There are side areas that you can take as a runner, but we haven't seen anyone take it, and that's first blood for TBW, scoring 1-0 in round 3. They have to win this map if they're going to be in contention.
Yes, must win, but it's a great thing. You know, after getting, kind of punched in the face they did last round, to come back and get a score. Now, they just gave up one, but...
Yeah, one more, and now it's... Who scored that? That was... Okay, I can't tell with the tiny console text, but we're looking at 1-1 in round 3. It's tied up, so it's anyone's game. Lots of touches happening here. Ralph taking one of those side areas, going under, burning one guy. And all they have to do is return this flag. Can they get a pickup? They do. They score it 2-1.
Yeah, you almost wonder if at this point, as crazy as it sounds, If you're the Boomstick Warriors, maybe just throwing 3-0 at them.
Well, with such an open-ended map, there's
It might work.
pretty much everyone crosses paths with each other anyway. Ralph is in the base waiting for that return. It doesn't happen in time. There's a pickup. Dev trying to get out with it, but too many people in such a short span of time. And Azriel with a pickup of his own, bringing it to 2-2. And Blair with a touch. J-War with a touch. It's almost impossible to keep track of all these carries at the same time. Azriel and Ralphus with the flags at the moment.
It's all over the place.
I'm having trouble keeping up on what's going on. This map is straight up chaos. You can tell from the teams, they're all over the map. It's crazy.
Yeah, it's really interesting that the Chargers picked a map like this. I mean, they have a good team. I don't see the logic in picking such a wild map where anything could happen.
A self pickup, the spawn right next to the flag, allowed Ralphus to bring it up to 3-2. Now there might be a chain being... Oh, nope. No chain pickups there.
Yep, no chain dudes.
No chain dudes. Chain dudes not allowed.
Nope. Not in this map. We're joking,
but this...
chain dude, we love you.
This map is straight up chaos. I mean, it may fit the Chargers better because they're a team that works better under like adverse conditions.
Oh, for sure. They're, like I said, they're that improv kind of team, right?
Azriel got body blocked there by a teammate spawning and wasn't able to score the flag.
Oof.
And you're getting glimpses of the map as we cycle through players. Ralph getting into one of the side areas that we were talking about. There's a hallway straight ahead that leads to the flag room for blue.
Ralph's just going to wait there for 6 minutes because nobody knows it's there.
Probably. Nobody has any idea where it is. And he's going to make his move. Does some damage on one. And
yeah, I think he's waiting for a clear.
You can see how wide open the entire map is. Like, there's no predefined running route at all whatsoever. Great shot to drop him. Dev looking for... Oh, Dev doesn't even have the flag anymore. Azriel does. Dropped right outside the flag room. Is it even a room? It doesn't even have walls. What is it?
It's not a room. It's just a space.
The flag space.
Yeah. This has got to be stressful.
I'm stressed out trying to keep track of everybody.
It's a good spectacle, that's for sure. I mean... but... You know, while we're sitting here talking about the map, look at the frag difference again.
Oh, let's check it out.
Yeah, it's just a pattern. That's a disturbing pattern. You don't like seeing that. Especially because I thought maybe the Warriors were slightly better fraggers, but you know what?
Yeah.
Prime is balling out. And I told you earlier in the cast, hey, this guy, he's a playoff performer. He was in the past. So, credit where it's due. So far, Prime has been the man. We've given all our love to Ralph, but I mean, let's give it on the other end. Prime has been stepping up.
Yeah, Prime and Blair have been fragging out completely. I mean, both their frags have eclipsed J-Warrior's top at 32. It shows that they're just dominating the landscape. Tied back up at 3-3 from a run with J-Warrior. Which I think we also missed a capture from the Chargers while we've been trying to keep track of all this chaos. But currently, round 3, it's tied, and TBW, it's not looking great for them as they lose this battle of attrition.
Yeah, but you know what? Despite the fact that they're being out-fragged by 30 frags, they're still tied. And that's just the wildness of this map. I don't think... You know what? Conventional wisdom probably does not apply here. So, you know...
Let's spectate a little bit flying around because it's absolute chaos trying to keep track of a single person.
Yeah.
Keep track of a little picture for the first time in World Doom League casting history. A lot of contention happening on the corners of the base. Middle doesn't get a whole ton of love, but has anyone even gone for the plasma gun? Flag's right there.
No, I don't think it's worth it. Oof.
Nice little hop there. Try to get back. Oh man, it's actually kind of fun to try to keep track of everybody with a ghost cam here. Yeah,
and if you're the Boomstick Warriors, hey look, 3-3, You got a chance to win. That's all you can ask for after getting swept in your home field. So plenty of time here to get it. Obviously a score, but look, you're here. You're in position. You're doing much better now than what you were in the previous 2 games.
Oh, for sure. I mean, it's anyone's game. We were just under 3 minutes left in the map in round 3, and it's match point for Superchargers. If they win this, they win the series.
Ooh.
And it's so close, and it comes together for a 4-3 picture. One more flag secures the Superchargers on their way to the semifinals.
Yep. Ralph ready to stick a nail in them. Or stick a fork in them? Is that how it goes? Oh, he might have it here.
Most people say stick a fork in them, but...
Oh, there it is.
And get your forks ready because they're done. The Boomstick Warriors are going home with the Superchargers winning 3-0.
Brooms! Get the brooms! We got to sweep!
Oh, sweep them out. But yeah, that was massively chaotic.
But surprising. The result was very surprising.
I did not think it was going to be a shutout for the Boomstick Warriors, considering they went so well in the regular season.
Yeah.
It's actually kind of surprising to me.
Yeah, so earlier in our previous cast, I had mentioned that there were a couple of matchups, despite the fact that, you look at these differences in seeding. This was the 2 versus 7, where the Boomstick Warriors were the 2 seed. This is one of the matchups where I said if the 7 seed won or the higher seed won, I wouldn't consider it an upset. That's because I thought, despite the fact that the Chargers were the 7 seed, they were a team that had a pretty weird start to the season. One of the games, Ralph wasn't even at home. And the first game, the first couple of games, you could just tell they were kind of integrating Prime into it, and they were kind of figuring out who does what on that team. And I think they really did figure that out in the final week of the season, and somewhat in week 4. They had that crazy match with the Sexual Panther, with the Panthers that ended with the last second cap by Dragon. That's what separated them from being the 3 seed and the 7 seed. So this is how tightly contested the season has been. And I'm not surprised by the result so much. I'm just surprised by how emphatic the result was. I was not anticipating a 3-0 complete domination. I want to see the stats. I think once those stats come out, you'll be able to kind of see what I mean about how dominating this actually was.
And that is another playoff game that did not even go to the tiebreaker that is usually attributed to an advantageous for the home field team. The last playoff game that we casted against Ties Only Fans and Steel Ball Runners, that was 3-1. So it didn't even go to round 5. This one didn't even go to round 4.
I do want to say something real quick, because as casters, we always try to be unbiased. And so in the interest of fairness, I want to say to Azriel, we kind of gave you a bad rap the first game. Look, man, you played well. It's just you went up against a veteran, a guy that's been doing this for 25 seasons, a guy that's been around, the Dooms community.
Career runner, probably one of the statistically best runners in CTF history. I mean,
yeah.
I was actually going to take some time, like when we got the stats and stuff. I want to give Azriel props for being a rookie and coming in and with
exactly
basically diving headfirst into the Shark Tank. And honestly, I think he did pretty well the first few weeks. Like he made a name for himself, and I think that everyone starts somewhere. And if you continue to improve, we might see Azriel's name on top of the leaderboard sometime.
Well, I think the good thing is he's one of, we all like to give Dev a hard time about, how analytical and how overly analytical he is. I think if you're a rookie, it doesn't get a lot better than being with someone like Dev to pick his brain and to give you all of this insight, all of this knowledge. So for Azriel, what I would say to you, man, is look, you did great this season. I hope to see you in more seasons, because you're only going to get better. All things considered, you still held Ralph and the Superchargers to 3 flags apiece in each round. So you didn't do horribly. It's just I think the setup for the Boomstick Warriors didn't make a lot of sense. I think they put Azrael in an island, and unfortunately, because he couldn't win most of those matchups, and to be clear, I don't know how many defenders are going to win those one-on-one matchups with Ralph anyway. Maybe, I think of guys like Stal, ACC, Ty. Those are the guys I would feel a lot better about. So, okay, you're not 3 out of what? How many? There were 10 teams, 4 players each. So you're not 3 of 40 odd some players, right? So that doesn't mean you're bad. And I think he was very good this season, and I think he had some positive moments in this game. I just look at the lineup that the Boomstick Warriors had in the first 2 games on map 9. I don't think it made sense. I don't know that I'd ever.
Interesting to me. It's interesting that we didn't really see Azrael really stopping Ralph, but I'm looking at the stats in round 1, and stats are also in the chat for anyone who wants to look at all the crazy grid of numbers that we look at all the time. Azrael had a KD ratio of almost 150%, so he was murdering the majority of players that were coming into that base. And
except Ralph.
I'm sure Ralph died quite a fair bit to him too, but I mean, sure. With someone of Ralph's caliber, yeah, it only takes like one to
let me
to lose track of him.
The problem is that even though Azrael was doing well, Ralph was getting to the flag and getting where he wanted to be, and that's the problem.
Okay, but is that a problem with Azrael as a defender, considering he put up like 15 defenses and had nearly a 150% KD ratio, or are we looking at a problem with the 2-0 setup between J Warrior and Devastation? Like they weren't in any position to help him at all.
Yeah, so it's a bit of both. So the problem is I think the setup is wonky, and I don't think the setup works, first and foremost. The second problem is that setup then depends on Azrael never allowing Ralph to get out by himself, which he didn't do. Now, yes, the KD looks good. The defense looks good. But the fact of the matter is Ralph got too many touches. He had 28 touches, right? And every time that Ralph gets a touch and can sit around and play around in their base, then either J Warrior or Dev have to drop back, and they lose offensive pressure on their end, which defeats the purpose of 2-0, because the purpose of 2-0 is pressure. So that's the problem.
And they weren't able to get that done. I mean,
no, they weren't.
You're right. I think it's fair. I think it's unfair to say, as a defender, I have to completely disagree. Like, as a career defender, I completely disagree. An enemy runner is going to get to the flag at some point. It is going to happen. You're just mitigating that damage.
For sure. But I'm not, to be clear, what I'm saying is that this is the setup that the Boomstick Warriors ran, and that's what had to happen in order for that setup to be successful. I don't know that you can put many defenders in that situation that are going to excel. And I had said that earlier prior to that. And that's why I wanted to point out that, in the round 1, I feel like we were a little unfair towards Azrael. But I think it's a combination of the two, mostly the setup. But again, if that's the setup that you have, and that's the setup that you've practiced all week, and I'm not saying that's the setup they have practiced, maybe they've done multiple setups. That's what it depends on. And Azrael has to win those matchups. And even though he had, a high KD, it was really like empty calories, right? Like it didn't really matter. And at that point, that's where you're right? Like that's the setup. The setup's wonky. You need to change the setup. And I think the Chargers had a much better plan. They kind of had a 2D kind of 1-1
mid, almost, where
they chase D and they move up. They chase D and they move up. And the Warriors never got into a rhythm at all. And because of that, Ralph is going to get to the flag. He's going to hold on to it, and he might die a lot. But the fact of the matter is he's staying alive, and he's preventing them even further from getting offensive pressure. I think that play style catered more to their downfall than anything the Chargers did really well. I want to get into that a little bit more. But I think we should also point out, too, that this isn't all the Boomstick Warriors playing a wonky setup. Let's give credit where credit's due now. Prime balled out. Blair balled out.
Look at Blair's overall KD here, honestly. 161%? What? That's crazy.
In round 1 at 218%. These guys were incredible. And that was the difference. Now, could that have been because the Warriors setup was a little off? Maybe, but it doesn't matter. These are the playoffs. To quote the great Herm Edwards, you play to win the game. And it just kind of seemed like the Chargers were content with this, and they were content with playing this style.
They were very
And
comfortable going into these games. They had a
And
plan. They executed it. Prime was at mid. He took damage off for Blair. He was where he needed to be to assist Ralph. It was a complete form of synergy that a lot of teams should probably review, especially the team that they're going to be playing in the semifinals, ties only fans. So the
okay,
winner,
so is that official?
I believe that is. I would like to get confirmation on the bracket.
So let's see. So ties only fan is the 3 seed, and they were the 7th seed. So if best ever wins, best ever would face. I think you are right. Gosh, I haven't messed around with seedings in forever to know. I'd have to write it out, but I think because they're the 7th seed. No, you know what? If best ever wins, then they play the Chargers because they're the 1 seed, so they always get the lowest seed no matter what. So, since they're already playing the A seed, the next lowest or the next highest seed would be the 7th seed, which was the Chargers. So if they win, best ever plays the Chargers. Now, if BQB wins, then I believe, I don't think they're going to play Ty's team no matter what. I don't think it matters what happens. Because
I just don't know.
Because if BQB won, then the 1 and the 2 seeds are eliminated, making Ty's seed the best seed. So then they would play the worst seed, which is the 8th seed. So in that scenario, should BQB win, then they'd play Ty's team. So
there was an actual bracket posted somewhere.
Is there?
I thought it was bracket based, and not like we're looking at. We'll hash all this out at some point, anyways. I mean, we're kind of just speculating, but I also want to address something that was said in the chat. When the stat line rework thing or whatever was supposed to be called for the site to be implemented, kind of butchered that line, sorry. But no, we're still working on the stacks backend. I don't think we'll implement it this season. I think it'll be implemented in the off season so we don't blow something up accidentally. And Blair's still working on that, but yeah, I mean that's coming. There's a lot that has to be undone and then redo. It's all right, but we'll get there, and then we'll have a whole new setup for the next season if we do run one. But okay, yeah. I mean the semi. Just keep your eyes on the schedule page. That'll be posted whenever we get through the quarterfinal setup. Then that will be the last link in that Nightbot chat blurb right there. You can, and hey, if you missed the last playoff game that we broadcasted a little earlier today between Steel Ball Runners and Ties Only Fans, that is now up on the YouTube, and this will follow shortly. But we're going to go ahead and cut away from this, actually. And we'll be wishing you the rest of your Sunday night. Be well. Thank you, Jamie, for joining me, and maybe we will cross paths in the future. It's possible we might be here for the Monday night game between Oblast, Blom, and Best Ever. I don't know what your schedule looks like.
So I'll be at work. But will you be able to do it?
I think I'll be able to. I should be home by 8 o'clock my time, right?
What about you and Blair?
If Blair's around, he'll be a co-caster, my regular co-caster Blair. But for these couple quarterfinal games, thank you, Jamie, for joining me. It's been tons of fun.
Thanks for having me, man. I appreciate it, and it was fun.
Absolutely, we saw some pretty amazing games from every team so far. Some chaotic maps, and for now, we'll play you out with the World Doom League theme, and we'll see you again. Well, whenever we see you. I am Xenaero, and this is HateDaddy, aka Jamie. We're signing out. Have a great rest of your Sunday.
Adios.